Now, if you're running low on Primo Gems, your first instinct might be to start randomly looking for chests, but just doing that blindly can be a very big mistake, especially if you choose the wrong region to start with. Because believe it or not, all regions are never made equal. In fact, the one you choose can have a massive impact on the Primo Gems you earn. You see, ever since the Natlan updates, chests in newer areas have actually started to give more Primo Gems, meaning that if you're exploring the newest regions first, you'll be getting better rewards in the same amount of time it would take to complete older areas. And on top of that, during the Nordcry updates, the treasure compass is also getting a massive upgrade, allowing it to mark locations of every single collectible near you, helping us to find these chests even faster. Plus, these new areas always come with a weird event that can give nearly 400 extra primos if you manage to reach 80% exploration. But still, with this being said, do note that some areas have a very weird map with bunch of layers, like this area in Natlan, making exploration harder and more time consuming. So it might just be a good idea to avoid them completely. Okay, so now that we know which area to focus on first, let's start with getting this exploration number up. And well, the best way of doing that is to actually just simply look for chests, is what I would have said if I were lying. You see, exploration Genshin doesn't work the way most people think it does, meaning that you don't actually have to collect every single chest to 100% an area. So instead of focusing on that, start by collecting the Okla of these regions first, because that can sometimes give up to 30% exploration for just barely 30 minutes of work. As long as you avoid this one common mistake that can waste a bunch of resources. You see, unlike these sigils, the Oculus requirements of the Statue of the Seventh increases exponentially, meaning that getting all of them can be a giant waste of time. So if you collected nearly 80 to 90% of them and started to come across Okla that are locked behind quests, it's time to go back to the statue, level it up, use the keys to open the Shrines of Death for the luxurious chest, and move on to step 2, which is probably inside your inventory right now. So if you haven't noticed already, these shrine keys weren't the only thing that you got from the Statue of the Seventh, because they also give us these small little sigils that are somehow the biggest source of Primo Gems of this entire video. So how does that even happen? Well, let me explain. By now, you probably know that opening a chest will give you elemental sigils of that region, which can be exchanged for various items and rewards in the souvenir shops. This has been true for basically every single region since release, but Natlan changed that completely. So if you've explored Natlan, you must have come across this iconic clock thingy. Here, you can offer your sigils to the Tablet of Tona to get up to 15 wishes for free. And well, the same thing will happen in Nordcry because they have their own big ass thing called the meeting points. And it'll probably also give you 15 extra wishes just for opening chests. But still, even though this plan of first opening chests to collect sigils sounds perfect on paper, always keep in mind that these sigil reward places always have a version limit. Thankfully, however, this limit rule only applies to the newest region that is currently available in this game, meaning that you'll be able to get all the rewards in Natlan. But for Nordcry, you can only unlock 20 levels in the first update. Another really quick way of getting Primo Gems is actually by using the sponsor of today's video, Loot Bar. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are saving for the upcoming Nordcry characters, but let's be real, these Primo Gems aren't cheap, and this is exactly where Loot Bar comes in. Loot Bar lets you buy these crystal packs at up to 25% off compared to the official prices. You can also get double recharge during the anniversary celebration. It's also very fast and secure, with many creators working with them. Plus, the process is very simple too. Just enter your game ID, choose the amount, and boom, your crystals arrive in your account in just minutes. Plus, they also cover the taxes and even have a 7 days after sale support. So if you're looking to get your favorite character without breaking the bank, check out Loot by using my link below to get an extra 10% off discount coupon and join the VIP for more discounts and points. Next up, we actually have one of the easiest ways to get primos that most of the fandom doesn't even know about. You see, in the Serenity Pod, if you head over to the flower icon here, you'll find these things called the companion furnishing sets, which are basically just a collection of furniture that's liked by certain characters who give special rewards like 20 primos and some mora when you make them. Now at first, these rewards might sound kinda underwhelming, but did you know that you can actually get 20 primos twice for each character you own, which adds up surprisingly fast. Plus, this can also be one of the most time efficient ways to get primos, as long as you avoid these 3 common mistakes. So first off, always keep in mind that not all furnishing sets are ever made the same, meaning that certain sets are liked by a ton of characters, but the other ones are just liked by a single one. So make sure to look up these sets on the wiki before you buy these recipes. Also, if you're an OG player like me, try to do the Mondstadt ones first, because you probably already have a bunch of furniture used in those sets just lying in your inventory. Next up, to save your sanity, always place your characters in a straight line and just go talk to the guy who's out of position to get your primos. And finally, even if you don't need primos right now, just make sure to buy these bottle speed up thingies, and trust me, your future self will thank you for doing this. But with this being said, it's important to keep in mind that you can only really do it once, and on top of that, if you're a newer player and don't have access to a bunch of characters in your roster, your rewards are going to be limited. But considering how quick and easy it is to get nearly 2,000 to 3,000 Primo Gems, it's still kind of worth a try. And now with all this out of the way, do you remember what I said just a few minutes back? We actually have one of the easiest ways to get Primos that most of the fandom doesn't even know about. Well, that was actually a lot, because there's actually a much faster way of getting Primo Gems that I've seen a lot of people trying to avoid. Now most of you watching this probably know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, it's the endgame modes like the Abyss that some people tend to skip, thinking that it's too long and hard. But if I'm being completely honest, it's actually way easier than you might think. Plus, with the Nordcry update, these rewards are also increasing, meaning that you probably have a bunch of extra Primos just waiting to be collected. And if you're a newer player and don't have a bunch of characters just sitting on your account, doing these game modes might feel intimidating at first, but don't worry, because even if you've got like 2 decently built DPS DPS characters, you'll be able to clear most of the early parts of these floors pretty easily. Now sure, you might not be able to do the hardest difficulties just yet, but you'll still walk away with plenty of primos in your bag. But now after exhausting primos from literally every piece of content, you might start to think that collecting any more pearls should be basically impossible, right? Well, I'm happy to tell you that could not have been further from the truth, because so far we've only covered the easiest part of this entire video and actually haven't even touched the real grindy stuff that begins right here at these reputation statues. You see, these things basically act like a checklist for all the major quests you should be doing, because not only do they give a bunch of primos on their own, but they also give you access to new areas, helping you unlock even more Ocla and achievements, and also a bunch of rare chests for sigils that should enable you to finally get 100% exploration everywhere. And as if that was enough, some of these quests also give you these one-of-a-kind items that can be used to unlock these cave areas that are filled with 5-star artifacts, sanctifying elixir, and also a bunch of primos. And on top of this, the same thing will happen in Notcry, because they also have their own special areas that are locked behind these quest items. But if for some reason these rewards feel kind of underwhelming to you, let's not forget that this new region will also have a limited time Archon quest event, kind of like the exploration one, with rewards up to 500 primos upon completion. And speaking of these bonus rewards, while digging through the events tab for more stuff to do, you might come across these events for character quests, which offer a bunch of free mats and also some extra primos upon completion. But even with these extra rewards, doing character quests only gives you around 2 primo gems per minute, which might not sound too bad at first, but when you compare it to the other ways of getting primos that are later in the video, you'll see how this can become one of the worst ways to spend your time. Now sure, if you literally have nothing else to do, completing the character quest might be fine, but unless Hoyo adds a skip button, these should always be on the bottom of your priority list. But now, even after doing all this, if you're still in need for more primos, I think it's time to use the most underrated way of getting pearls, which is located in a place that everyone has forgotten about, the underground mines of the chasm. But now you must be thinking, where would we even go to the chasm? Didn't you tell us to prioritize newer areas because they give more primo gems to collect? Well, that is correct, but we're not here to collect chests. You see, the underground mines of the chasm have this special item called the Lumen Spear, which is used to upgrade this thing called the Lumenstone Torch. And just like the Ocla of Various region, every time you upgrade this torch, you get rewards such as fragile resins, crowns, and even primo gems. And as if that was enough, there are 3 other very similar versions of these Lumen Spear thingies in various different regions just waiting to be collected. For example, we have the Frost-bearing tree in Dragon's Prime, the Amrita pool near the final desert in Sumeru, and the Rain Jade's benediction in Chenyu Vale. What makes these collectibles even better is the fact that there are only like 30 to 80 of them in total, meaning that you can collect most of them fairly quickly in about 30 minutes, as long as you avoid this one common mistake, which is to not collect every single one of them, because you only need around 75% of them to get most of the primo gem rewards. And now with the grinding stuff completely done, I think it's time to reveal a secret that I've been hiding from you guys. You've actually been farming nearly 12,000 primo gems passively this entire time, because these pearls weren't the only thing that we were getting from completing all those tasks, because they also gave us these achievements. Now you might not think much of them at first, but these somehow turned out to be the second biggest source of primo gems in this entire video. You see, if you somehow manage to collect all 1500 achievements, you'll get a total of around 75 pearls in total, just enough to guarantee 1 pity. Now of course, most of you guys probably have half of them already completed, but even then 6,000 potential primos is still a lot. However, before you get too happy, do keep that in mind that hunting achievements is by far the longest and most tedious way of getting primo gems. In fact, even with how insane the reward is, I would only recommend doing it if you've already completed most of the stuff on this list. Next up, let's talk about the dumbest ways of getting primos, which just involves you leveling up some characters. Now I know what you're gonna think, Yabo, how is this remotely helpful? Doesn't leveling your characters just give you standard pearls which are completely useless for getting limited characters? Well, that is correct, but did you know there's a weird way to sort of convert these standard wishes into limited ones? You see, because of Genshin mostly releasing new 5-star characters nowadays, they've manufactured this 4-star shortage, meaning that if you were to do a 10 pull on basically any of the banners, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a duplicate 4-star character that comes with these targeted thingies, which can be exchanged for limited pearls to get brand new characters. So to abuse this method, make sure to level up all your characters till 70 and use those useless pearls on the standard banner, and you might just be able to get around 5 to 10 wishes by basically doing nothing. This is another big reason why I recommend doing the one-time collection items first, because those actually give a bunch of standard pearls, which should help you get at least a few limited pearls using this method. But now, truth be told, this can only work best if you're an OG player with a bunch of 4-star characters already at C6, but it can still be really helpful if you manage to get lucky. But now, before I reveal the actual best way of getting primo gems, let's first run through a quick checklist, which includes completing all the current events, doing your dailies using the condensed resin, finishing up the adventure handbook because most of the tasks are very easy, clearing out every web event, claim the free monthly wishes, and of course, claiming Archon quest wishes that can add up to more than 30. And now with that out of the way, let's talk about the absolute best way of getting primo gems that literally no one knows about. In fact, I'm willing to give you 3 seconds to guess what that is. Alright, got it? Well, if you said getting a job, you'd be correct. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's actually to just get a Welkin. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, but what do you mean get a Welkin? Isn't this video supposed to be free-to-play friendly? Well, that is true, but did you know that there's actually a real way of getting a free Welkin? And no, I'm not talking about something fishy like those Twitter giveaways that are usually just scams. You see, every time Genshin's anniversary comes around, HoYoLAB makes a special post asking people a random question with around a 10% chance of getting awarded a Welkin. Now, at first, you might be wondering if I'm joking or not, so here's proof that I've actually gotten one myself. In fact, this Welkin might just be one of the rarest items in Genshin's history. But still, considering how much slop gets posted on HoYoLAB, you'll have to work quite a bit to find this post, but worry not, because if you're too lazy to do that yourself, just make sure to subscribe and I'll let you know when it's happening using a community post or on my Discord server.